Approaching 7 a.m. and we're standing on the pier in Kailua Kona on the Big Island, awaiting the start of the International Nautilus Triathlon. Hello, everybody. This is Paul Guanzon, along with Rick Kwan and Max Telford, the ultra marathon man. Today we'll be covering what has become known as the ultimate test in physical endurance. 3 events combined into one, starting off with a 2.4-mile rough water swim that will take us out to Kailua Bay and back, then immediately into a 112-mile bike race up the Kona coast to Hawaii and back to the Kona Surf Hotel, and then immediately into a 26.2-mile running marathon. And as grueling as this may sound, strangely enough, it has grown by leaps and bounds since its inception in 1978, Rick.
That's right, Paul. When the triathlon was started 3 years ago, the event drew only 12 contestants. But this year, after receiving national exposure in Sports Illustrated and on ABC's Wide World of Sports, the field has grown to almost 400 entries from all over the world. Because of that large number, the event was moved from Oahu to the Big Island this year. And that isn't the only new change this year, is it, Max?
That's right, Rick. There's a few changes, all right, but the most important change, I feel, is no support teams are allowed in this race. In other words, if you have a bike puncture in your bike, when you're away in the middle of nowhere, you have to get off and fix it. Big difference from last year, when we had the winner last year had a very, very extravagant support team with him. So this year it'll be very interesting indeed.
Well, there's no doubt about it. Triathloners are a bunch of fanatics. You know, we could be fanatics about eating or drinking wine or just plain old running. Instead, we're fanatics about swimming, biking, and running.
I guess it makes you feel unique, you know, it makes you feel special in your own way. And it's a goal that can be reached. And once you reach that goal, you know, there's just a lot of satisfaction in it.
I guess I remember seeing the bikers come in last year, jump off their bikes, change their clothes, and weigh in and go run a marathon. And I got excited about it and thought, well, maybe I could do that.
It was a challenge. You know, I didn't know if I could do it. You know, it wasn't like a marathon where I was pretty confident that I could complete, you know, gut it out. This, especially with the swimming involved in it, you know, it was an extreme challenge for me. I dig challenges.
The gun is in the air, and we're just about ready to start the 2.4-mile rough water swim that will take us out to Kailua Bay and back. As you can see, the contestants are standing on the shore, just about ready to start the 2.4-mile race.
The 4th annual 1981 Nautilus International Triathlon, this year held on the Big Island, is another Channel 4 sports presentation. Sponsored in part by Tire Warehouse. At Tire Warehouse, we have the selection, you make the choice.
Kailua Harbor was selected because of its close proximity to the hotels and just the main activity in Kailua. The water's calm for the most part, unless there's a storm. We figured we could get a lot more support, a lot more water support, if we held it in an area that wasn't too far removed from the general population.
Thank you, Valerie. Swim coordinator Mo Matthews is ready with the gun, so let's watch the start of the triathlon.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Well, they're off. 326 swimmers are in the water. And it's a nice even pace, but it appears that nobody's in a real hurry. Rick, what kind of times do you think we're expecting for the first event?
Well, last year, Dave Scott won the swim portion of the triathlon in 51 minutes. I think most swimmers will be pleased if they finish between, say, an hour, hour 10. That would be a pretty good time for the first portion of this contest.
It looks like a really nice even pace. I don't know what it's going to be like when they finally get out in the middle of the bay. As the swimmers approach the middle of the bay, let's go to Max for a report from the Kona Hilton.
This is a scene from the Kona Hilton. This is what it has been looking like since 10 minutes after the start of the race. It's pretty calm out there. There's just a slight swell in the water. But to me, the conditions look excellent for rough water swimming. As you can see, the swimmers are well strung out. There doesn't seem to be too much wind out there. As you can see, the porpoises have come out. The lead swimmers have reached the turnaround bout, the halfway stage, and are now on the way back. This is one of the tape crews of ABC television which are covering the race. Towards the back of the pack, we have Harry Cadello. Harry is blind, completely blind, and as you can see, he is being guided by someone on a surfboard. Looking out from the Connor Hilton, here we see the leader on his way back towards the finish line. About 200 yards behind the leading swimmer is a group of about five or six swimmers. The oldest competitor in this event is Walt Stack from California. Walt is near to the end of the pack at this stage. We talked with Walt earlier, and this is what he had to say.
I'm a lousy swimmer. I've been swimming. I've went to sea for 26 years, and I swam in all the oceans of the world, but my technique has always been very poor, and although I swim at least a half-hour a day, used to swim a couple miles a day, it's slow. If the water's turbulent at all, I have a real tough time because I swim with my head up like a turkey, and somebody says they thought I was something like Jesus Christ because instead of going this way, I was walking on the water. You know, this way. It isn't quite that bad. That's a slight exaggeration. So I figure it'd take me a few hours to do that swim, you know.
How about the bike?
The bike, well, the bike, I've been biking to work for the last 25 years, and I always rode a 3-speed bike. I'm a turkey there, too. All I expect out of that bike ride is a big sore ass, but I'll make it, I hope.
Well, people like, well, you'll probably have more than a sore whatever before today is over. Many of them have spent months preparing for the triathlon. Here's what some of them had to say about their training.
I've been training for a year, and most certainly I put myself into it 100% because I think to be able to do a good triathlon, that's what you have to do.
I think people who train for this event might find 75% of the effort is mental preparation and mental discipline. There's a lot of days when you may not want to go out there and train, and it's a matter of just getting out there and doing it.
It's funny, sometimes there's some mornings when your body's telling you that and you just can't do anything. Sometimes you can't seem to get into it, you know. And you do it anyway, you know. There's plenty of mornings where I didn't want to run. I mean, I wanted to stay in bed. I did not, and you just do it anyway. You know, you don't have to always feel like doing it. It's like going to work. You know, I don't always feel like going to work, but I'm there every morning.
The first swimmer is in sight, and we'll be back with the finish of the swim. And here comes the leader. He's 26-year-old Tom Schmidt of Pasadena, California. Tom is a high school aquatics coach in Pasadena, and that could very well explain just why he's doing so well in the swim portion of the triathlon. Tom's time will be about 51 minutes, 50 seconds. That's around a minute behind last year's leader at this time, Dave Scott. He's the same person who won the whole contest last year. Here's Valerie Silk, the race director. She's awaiting some more of the finishers. And here they come. They're looking pretty good. They'll be finishing around an hour, 10 minutes, hour, 20 minutes, something like that. They're washing off, getting ready to go on to the next portion of the race, which will be a 112-mile bicycle race. Picking up their clothes, going into the rooms to change. How you doing out there?
It's great.
Are you on schedule?
Right on schedule.
All right, good luck.
Thank you very much.
How you doing out there?
All right, so far we're cooking.
How about you? Super. You having a good time out there?
I don't know.
How you doing?
Picnic games.
Okay, let's go to Max and Paul over by the bikes.
We're at the point now where many of the swimmers are coming out of the water, getting changed, and off to a brisk 112-mile bicycle race up the Kona coast to Hawaii. Max, what do you think the strategy should be right now with most of these bike races?
Well, Paul, the sun is getting up, you know. It's going to be very, very hot on that road. They're going to be five hours plus on that road, and it's going to be very, very hot and sticky and tough. They're going to be a little bit excited, you know, just till they settle down on the bike itself. But they'll soon find a pace, and they'll settle into a 5-hour effort.
Many of them are taking their time coming out of the water, stopping and having a drink. and making sure they get some food. There's some bananas and some cakes over there. It's important that they maintain their energy level, maintain their water.
That's true, yeah. This is one of the most important things in an event like this. You've got to keep your fuel going in there, and I hope that most of them will take in enough food.
The bicycle course rolls a lot. It's a tougher course than over here on Oahu. There's not a whole lot of traffic on it, and the shoulders are nice and wide, and the road is good. There aren't any real steep hills. From Waihai up to Hawi, we go up to about 500 feet, but the whole course rolls pretty much, so they're going to be doing quite a bit of climbing throughout the whole course.
I think one of the most difficult things on the bike is when you start getting into longer rides. There's a lot of things in positioning, and the muscles begin to get fatigued, and until you develop the endurance to maintain a position on the bike over a long period of time, you will run into a lot of uncomfortable situations out on the road.
How's it going? I talked to you about 4 years ago when you ran a marathon.
Well, we're doing okay. The swim went real well.
Barry, you looking forward to the marathon run?
You bet. That's where I shine, in the marathon.
Is that the strongest event?
Yeah, but it won't be today. I don't think today I'm going to qualify for Boston. I think I'll be about 4.5 hours. Maybe 5.
Okay, right now we're about 4 hours and 40 minutes into the 4th annual triathlon. We're now into the bicycling portion of the race. As far as we know, all the swimmers have completed that portion of the contest, and right now we're in the bicycle part. Here comes the leader at the present moment. He's John Howard of Austin, Texas. Max, what do you know about him?
Well, this is John's strong event. He is an ex-cyclist, or he still is a cyclist. If he's going to do well, he's got to really make a break in this part of the race. So he's certainly doing this.
Do you think John will be able to build up enough of a lead to go into the marathon still with that wide of a margin?
Well, it's early stages yet, Rick. This is what he's trying to do, as you can see. And he's not the best of runners, but hopefully he's going to build up a strong lead in the bicycle part of it. This is his idea.
Well, I think probably my reason is not unlike a lot of these athletes. This is some kind of an endurance contest, probably the ultimate endurance contest. And to me, that's a challenge. And to do that better than anyone else is important to me. And I personally would regard that on a par with an Olympic gold medal, possibly even above that. So I'm competing because I feel that this is an important event.
We're just about 7 miles out of Hawi, and it appears that a lot of the bikers are still having fun. How's it going for you out there?
Okay.
Are you having fun still?
I wouldn't call it fun.
Okay, keep it up.
Can't wait to the halfway point so I can sit down and take a rest.
What's your strongest event?
Running. I don't think I've any left. I've ran a 2:37 marathon, but when I get off this bike, I'm sure my legs will be heavy.
That's great. What's your name? Where are you from?
Elizabeth Jansen. I'm from Sacramento, California.
How'd you do in the swimming?
123.
Are you happy with that?
It was okay. I was happy.
Hey, Cowman, how's it going?
It's too easy. My equipment's falling apart.
What's wrong with your bike?
Oh, my right toe piece came loose. But as long as I keep my foot on the pedal, it's all right. I guess I'm just too heavy for this bike.
How'd you do in the swimming?
About 1 hour and 36. Pretty slow, but I saving it for the marathon, you know.
When are you going to put on your hat? You're a count one.
Last part of the run.
Okay.
All right. Beautiful crowd this morning. Weather's great. People are great. What else? Hey, come again.
Directly behind me is downtown Hawaii, the turnaround point for the bicycle race, as we take a look and talk to some of the bike racers coming in.
The toe clip screw came off here.
That's not real major, though.
Well, it is, because you lose about 30% of your pulling power when you're trying to make it on the hills.
Having any other problem, mechanical problem?
Only my body.
How's it coming? How's the race so far?
It's great. Everything's running so smoothly. The contestants are happy. The aid station people are happy. It's going great.
You think this is pretty exciting for your little town?
Yeah, it really is. It's the biggest thing I think happened so far lately.
How's it coming for you so far?
Oh, great.
How'd you do in the swim?
132.
Are you happy with that?
Yeah.
What's your strongest event?
I hope it's going to be the marathon.
You encounter any problems in the biking?
No, it's great out there. Just hot.
When was the last time you saw so much excitement in this town?
We don't have much excitement here. Rarely any excitement. This is the biggest excitement we've had in months.
The temperature in the air is about 95 degrees. On the ground, it's about 110, so you can tell the bike racers are having a time of it. Some of them have their own way of amusing themselves.
If you think I'm pretty and you want my body, come on, sugar, tell me so. That's as good as I got it.
Roberto, how's it going?
Good, excellent. I had a beautiful swim. About an hour and 30 minutes. 23 faster than last year.
Did you encounter any problems out in the swim?
No problems whatsoever. Last year I cramped up when I stood up, and this year they had it so beautifully arranged on that ramp. And it was just excellent. You know, the footing was beautiful. It's so different to stand on sand. Your legs cramp up a lot more because you put more stress on them.
In addition to the over 300 and some competitors involved in the triathlon, there are over 950 people along the way helping out at the aid stations, and all the competitors have felt that it's been very helpful and very well organized. Along the way back, we ran into one of the lead women, and we talked to her.
Hi, how's it going?
Really well, thanks.
How was your swim this morning?
It was pretty good. I felt really good about it. I did better than I thought.
How's the entire event? What's your overall feeling so far?
Really good. Very well organized. And I really appreciate people, how considerate they've been. I mean, just encouraging and considerate. Really nice.
What's your best event?
Swimming, I'm all right. Biking, I'm considered all right for a girl.
What about running?
If I can get a marathon, I'll be lucky.
What kind of food do you have there?
I got potatoes and raisins and carrot chips. Big nest to get my hands all sticky.
Did you encounter any mechanical problems on your bike?
No, but I can fix them without problem.
Temperature is about 110 degrees, and the pavement could be even hotter than that.
How did you get interested in entering the triathlon?
Sean, like many of the other competitors, also saw it on television.
Well, Max, the athletes are looking pretty strong at this point, and how about those bicycles they're using?
There's a lot of expense in these bikes, Rick. I heard earlier today that there's $500,000 worth there. They're pretty sophisticated, a lot of them 15, 18 gears.
You know, Max, since Paul began working on this triathlon, he's found out quite a bit about biking.
We're about 6 hours and 10 minutes into the race, and the bikers appear to be still pretty fresh, considering most of them have gone over 75 miles already. In the past, a bike race of about 112 miles usually took 2 days. But with the triathlon, you must complete all 3 events in one day: the 2.4-mile swim, the 26-mile marathon, and the 112-mile bike race.
I would have to say the toughest part of the bike race would be towards the turnaround point at Hawaii. I guess we're about halfway through the ride at that point, and they guesstimate the winds at Hawaii could be as high as 15 to 25 miles an hour. And of course, riding into a headwind like that at that point in a race, it could be very fatiguing. Another problem with the headwind is you're never quite sure when it's going to end. At least a hill, you can see the top. The wind, you're not quite sure.
As we look at these bike riders, their day started off a little past 7 when they swam the first part of the race, starting at the Kona Pier and swimming out past the Kona Hilton, then back to the pier where you saw them change from their swimwear into what you see them wearing now. These riders have passed the halfway point and have ridden over 75 miles. So if their pace seems a little slow right now, you can understand why. There's much more to come, so don't go away. The 1981 Triathlon from the Big Island continues after this. Many fans are lining the road here in Kona, between Kona and the Kona Surf. And here comes John Howard, number 167, the leader in the marathon, already completing his bike race and on the road to the 26-mile marathon.
This is Rick Kwan. We're now approaching the Kona Surf Hotel where the changeover is made from the bicycle portion of the triathlon to the marathon. Max, we saw the leader, John Howard, a bit earlier. How did he look?
Well, Rick, John looked pretty tired. Some of the other cyclists that came in were looking in pretty good shape, which is surprising. You know, they've been out in this road for about 4 or 5 hours. But John looked a little bit tired. It's going to be very interesting to see how he handles the road race itself.
Kona Surf Hotel almost 7 hours into the triathlon. This is the point of the race where the entries make the changeover from the bicycle portion of the contest to the final phase of the triathlon, the 26.2-mile marathon run. The last thing we heard was that John Howard was still the leader. He passed by this point about 30 minutes ago. And Max, it looks overall that the runners look quite well.
It's surprising, Rick, really is. What is happening here is they come in, they jump off the bike, and then they jump on the scale just to test see if they've lost too much weight. If at this stage, if they've lost too much weight, they're going to be taken out of the race, which means dehydration. As soon as they step off the scales, they go in and get changed into the running gear, and then they're off to the marathon. I'm surprised. They look in such good shape.
How about the weather out here? It's just a bit overcast. Has that been helping the runners kind of get to the bicycle?
Yes, definitely. It's beautiful conditions. Now it's overcast. There's not too much wind, and I'm really happy for them, yeah.
There's an intense amount of training involved in preparing oneself for the triathlon, but there's also the added burden of combining your social, family, and professional lives. And we talked to one of the competitors on how he manages.
My wife kind of kids me and says that you have to get your priorities together. It's a question of whether you want to spend time with your family or spend time with your profession, or do you want to do the really important things like train for the triathlon. No help from anyone else. You are entirely on your own, and it is billed as the supreme endurance contest for a human being, and I really think it is. And the fact that it is happening here in Hawaii is something that is very special, and something that we people who have been here a while can be proud to say that we have going on here. And I hope that we have quite a few more triathlons, and that I'm not always participating, but maybe observing one next year.
Throughout the day, we've been running into all kinds of very interesting competitors. We can do a report on almost every one of them, but Rick Kwan has one for us right now.
Meet Roberto de Ugarte. At first glance, he looks just like your everyday bicyclist. But look again, and you'll notice Roberto's right leg is shrunken and almost pencil-like, the result of being stricken by polio at age 6. The disease left Roberto's right side paralyzed from the waist down.
They put me in the very heavy braces and restricted my movement quite a bit of the leg. I wore crutches, and so I developed my upper body from both wearing crutches, and the rehabilitation I got when I had polio at that time was mostly swimming and bicycling. They did not want me to be on my legs at all.
While running, Roberto has only about 5% usage of his bad leg. So for a long time, the thought of running a marathon was just inconceivable.
I biked about 3 marathons with my father-in-law, and I met Dr. Thomas Bassler, who's a pathologist, very controversial, and he said, you know, you should be off that bicycle and running here with us. And I think that it percolated in my mind for maybe a couple of years before I started to really train, and I did my first intent of a marathon, which is 22 miles at Hilo.
Roberto has now run 12 marathons. To watch him compete, it looks a bit painful, but he says all the exercise has proven to be a great benefit.
My leg just looks somewhat healthier. I can stand on it. Before, if I was riding my bicycle and I would lean over to my right-hand side, which is my bad leg, I'd just fall right over. The leg would collapse. And now I can actually stop and get off my bicycle on that side. And that, to me, is just an amazing improvement as far as what my leg can support.
While biking, Roberto gets almost a full 15% usage out of his bad leg. But while swimming, it's almost useless. So to swim, it's all arms and shoulders. In fact, if he tried to use his good leg for propulsion, he'd only go around in circles. Roberto competed in his first triathlon last year and finished in 19 hours 11 minutes, nearly 10 hours behind the winner. But just completing the contest is all that mattered.
It's a very wonderful feeling of accomplishment. In some ways, I almost feel uncomfortable saying I finished a triathlon because of how a big experience people think it is, which it is. You know, it's a fantastic experience, but it's something that anybody, if they really dedicate themselves to it, can accomplish. And I think that makes it so nice for me, because I had always been told that, you know, there's limitations to what you can do in life, and I found that that's not true.
Get during a marathon when their bodies just want to stop, when they feel like they can't go on any further, wanting to just quit. The challenge to marathoners is to overcome those feelings of fatigue, to find some consolation in knowing there's only a few more miles to go. But how about in the triathlon, where there's not only the marathon where they can hit the wall, but the 2.4-mile swim and a 112-mile bike race as well?
In an event like this, I don't know. It's difficult to say. I think a lot of people tend to hit the wall in a marathon and overestimating their abilities and trying to go too fast. That's I can say, if there is a wall in the triathlon, I sure don't want to find it.
I've hit the wall as far as running with the lactic acid buildup in my legs and whatnot, but it's going to be just gutting out the last probably 15 or so miles, and it's just going to hurt.
Some of the competitors, however, are banking on their training to help them overcome any problems with the wall.
I'm hoping that enough training will overcome it. I figure it's kind of like the marathon hitting the wall at 18 miles. So at some point, there's going to be a barrier where you just feel like giving up or stopping. But hopefully with the man upstairs looking out for me and enough training, overcome it and get a second, third, fourth wind throughout it.
But for others, hitting the wall will be a way of life in the triathlon.
I'm not worried about the swim. I have a high degree of confidence in that. I've really been working hard on the bicycle. The two events put together, I have no problem. But the marathon, with the problems I've been having with my feet, is just going to be something I'm going to have to gut out.
The 1981 triathlon moves along. Let's look at some of the competitors that have endured today's race. The 1981 triathlon from the Big Island continues after this.
Watch the continuing saga of Dynasty, starring John Forsythe, Thursday at 9:30.
You know, Rick, a lot of people are finding it difficult to change over to running after 112 miles on the bike. The strain is beginning to show on their faces, as many of them really didn't know what they were letting themselves into.
I don't know about this triathlon. Kind of strange after running marathons to start a marathon after riding the bike over 100 miles. I just can't imagine what kind of shape I'm going to be in starting that marathon.
I can't believe I'm running still. I really can't. I'm running faster than when I started out with, and I'm passing people. I don't feel very good at all.
What do you get out of by doing this?
A good time.
This is your idea of a good time.
Sure, what else do I do on Valentine's Day?
Is this your first triathlon?
Yeah.
What made you decide to enter?
I saw it on television last year. Thought I might as well give it a try, see if I can do it. So far, so good.
You have plans to celebrate tonight?
Big plans.
What are they?
It's supposed to be 2 bottles of champagne for me when I get done.
Let's go to Rick and Max at the finish line.
Well, the crowd's now beginning to form here in downtown Kona, awaiting anxiously the winner. And here he comes. It's John Howard of Austin, Texas. And Max, he doesn't look bad at all.
He looks in pretty good shape, Rick. You know, the winner always looks in good shape at this stage. I think he's lost a fair bit of weight. You can actually count his ribs and his rib cage.
Now, Max, will this be a new record for the triathlon?
No, Rick, this is about 14 or 15 minutes off last year's record, but this is a new course, so through all intents and purposes, this is a new record for over here in Kona.
And here comes Howard towards the finish line. He's waving his arms triumphantly, and Max Telford is at the finish line waiting for the winner.
John, congratulations. How do you feel, my friend?
I'm totally, physically, mentally shattered. That's all I can say.
John, which event did you find the toughest of the three of them?
The run. No question about it. I don't think you'd hear a different answer from anybody that just did it.
Are you disappointed that Dave Scott isn't in the event this year?
Yeah, I was a little disappointed. I was hoping he could make it, but c'est la vie.
Here's the second place finisher, Tom Warren from California. Tom was the winner of the 1979 triathlon held on Oahu.
But are you satisfied with this?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was good because he beat me by enough, so now I don't feel like I should have trained more. I gotta tell him that he really did me a favor. If he beat me by a minute, then I'd have to come back.
Now do you think he'll quit?
Oh, yeah, I was going to quit anyway.
And here comes the first Hawaii finisher.
Dennis Hansen in 5th place.
And here comes the number 6 finisher, Dante Dentamonte from Stanford, California.
7th position, James Butterfield from Bermuda.
The 8th place finisher is Jonathan Durst of San Jose, California. And here's a look at some of the other finishers. And Max, they aren't all running in, though.
No, this young guy here has lost all his energy, and he's just making it by walking in.
And here comes the first woman to finish. She's Linda Sweeney of Tucson, Arizona. Her time will be 12 hours and 32 seconds. Max, what can you tell us about this year's women's field?
From 2 women last year to 24 women this year. Quite a show.
And here's more of the finishers. Triathlon from the Big Island continues after this. It's been a long day for everybody, so that just about brings us to a close of the Nautilus International Triathlon. Max, what's your impression?
Well, Paul, you know, looking at the 3 separate events, the rough water swim, it wasn't too rough out there in the sea. The bike race itself, there wasn't too much wind, although it was pretty hot. And then the marathon, it was nearly perfect conditions, except for the heat. So the main problem I thought with all the athletes and participants was the heat.
Max, this is the first triathlon that we've covered, and most of the competitors that I talked to, Rick, were very complimentary with the organization.
That's true, Phil. Everybody I talked to seemed to be very impressed by the coordination and organization which existed throughout the entire race. We talked to several people along the bike route and along the marathon trail, and they just said they very, very much enjoyed this entire affair. So congratulations and mahalo to all the workers who worked along the first aid station and along the route to put on one heck of a great race. Paul?
Well, it's been our privilege and pleasure here at Channel 4 to be bringing you this 4th annual Nautilus International Triathlon. Hope you have a nice night, and hope you join us again next year. Bye, everybody.
last man.
You're in the last man.
I drink seawater.
You're the last one, huh?
Yes, I am the last one.
How do you feel about being the last one?
2 years ago, I cannot swim.
How old are you, sir?
57. I came from Japan. I am sergeant, doctor.